honesty the answer.
With the power of Tandem HR, you are in the fast lane on Main Street with Get Down to Business with Shalom Klein, the show for business and jobs. Now, the champion of networking, the advocate of jobs, the guru of business, your host, Shalom Klein.
We are all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship and business. We talk a lot about business here. You are on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. And while you are there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information you will not want to miss. Get Down to Business is powered by our good friends at Tandem HR, your solution center. Give them a call at 630-928-0510 or check them out online, tandemhr.com. My first guest on Get Down to Business today is a true entrepreneur, a true professional, Rob Biederman. Rob is the company formerly known as Hourly Nerd and is in the process of rebranding under the name of Catalant. And really fascinating story, but even more fascinating than the story of the business is what you guys do, Rob. And you guys are really being quite innovative in the world of talent. And I wanted to jump right in. First of all, welcome to Get Down to Business.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be talking with you.
Absolutely. So you guys got started in 2013 with you and two of your Harvard Business School classmates as part of a little class project. Tell us a little bit about your vision at the time and sort of how it's developed into a very nice-sized operation where you're really servicing and helping our economy day to day in 2016.
Sure. So back then we had several insights about business that we'd gleaned from our experience before business school, which largely consisted of consulting and private equity. And those insights were that professional services markets were not well configured to create value for the demand side. So consulting and investment banking were very bundled. The second was that they didn't create a lot of value for their employees either. So nobody really enjoys working in consulting, and there's a lot of travel that folks don't really enjoy. And last, the technology could potentially help you solve those two problems. And so you had a demand side that was more or less in failure, a supply side that nobody really was enjoying, and that you could build a website that would allow you to connect supply and demand directly and effectively cut out the middleman. So we launched a platform to do exactly that. And now, 3.5 years later, we're working with about 10% of the Fortune 1000 on precisely that business.
So where you originally got started with your vision of helping small businesses access elite business talent through sort of an on-demand model, you're now working with much larger organizations as well. And now you've raised I believe $22 million, and you have a lot of experts on the platform. Tell us a little bit about the numbers. How many people are actually using the platform that you and your Harvard Business School classmates have built up?
Sure. So we have about 30,000 experts on the supply side, and these people are very talented. They're typically between 35 and 50. They're folks who have 5 to 25 years of post-business school work experience, oftentimes in consulting or operations or finance, and they're choosing to work in a different way. And the folks that they're doing work for on the platform are several thousand small and medium-sized businesses, and then, as I mentioned, about 100 very large global enterprises who really see us as an interesting part of their talent strategy.
That makes sense. And I'm curious about the staffing world and the talent world specifically, because it certainly sounds like you have engrossed yourself in this and you've become an expert in the area. I'm curious where you believe the relationship between business and talent exists. And you and I are both, I'm assuming we're both sort of in the category of millennials. And I'm curious how today's millennial, how today's professional is different than the professionals of prior generations, and what staffing will look like in 2020 versus how it may have looked in the year 2000.
Yeah, that's exactly the right question to be asking, Shalom. I'd say that, the decades-old paradigm, centuries-old paradigm of work consisting of a relationship that you have with one company for decades, and after 35 or 40 years in very similar roles, you're handed a gold watch and you retire. That paradigm is in the middle stages of disappearing in favor of a vision of work that is far more dynamic, far more flexible, and most importantly for both sides, far better aligns what people actually want to work on with what they're good at. And so millennials these days, and we see this with the folks that we graduated business school with a few years ago, they want to have a professional life that both fits into the personal life that they'd imagined, but then also gives them interesting new challenges all the time. And so on our platform and on other similar ones, you might be working for an oil and gas company in Texas one week, and the next week doing work for a beverage company based in Chicago, soon thereafter, and developing skills and also monetizing ones that you've used. And if there's a time during the year that you want to travel, you can do that with no challenges and pick it back up when you get back. And to be honest, I think that future sounds a lot more exciting.
It gives people a lot more control, which is interesting. Both companies as well as the freelancers. And I know freelance is a term that's knocked around, and maybe it's not given the respect that it deserves. When Rob, when you and your colleagues started the company, you went under a different name of Hourly Nerd, and that certainly is probably more clear in terms of what you were doing at the time. It sounds like right now you're focusing on bigger companies, and bigger companies, it sounds like, are embracing this idea of utilizing freelancers. Tell us a little bit about some of the big name companies, if you don't mind dropping a few names, and telling us about some of the projects that are currently floating through on the Catalant platform right now.
Sure. So we've tended to work with the sector leaders in the industries in which we've chosen to play, and so I can name a few: Fidelity, GE, Pfizer, each of them, a leader in financial services and diversified industrials and healthcare. And what those companies, as well as the rest of them, use us for are the gaps in their talent strategy when they either do not have the bandwidth or do not have the expertise they need to get something done. And so consultants you typically bring in because you need to justify an unpopular decision, or you need to make it seem like you're doing a lot of work around a big problem. You use Catalant when you just need somebody to accomplish a task quickly. And they're often very high-level tasks. They can be things like, recover millions of dollars of cash that I have trapped in overseas entities, or I'm thinking about commercializing this new technology and I want to put it into a new marketplace. How do I do that? So they're serious challenges, but they're also extremely discrete. And we've re-engineered the process of consulting into one of solving discrete problems, which, I think creates a lot of value for the demand side.
Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And I do believe that this is the direction that both millennials and professionals are going in. The days of just the consistent job, the regular job, the 9-to-5ers, it's a thing of the past where people want to have that flexibility to control their own life, to take a vacation, to travel for business. They can be in that control. But again, that balance, work-life balance is looking very, very different than it used to in the past. The 9-to-5 jobs are going away, and it sounds like big companies, small companies are all embracing that. So we're quickly running out of time, but I'm curious regarding the rebranding, why Catalant and why no longer Hourly Nerd?
Sure. So just to be clear, Hourly Nerd is still out there for our small business clients. It's still at hourlynerd.com. I think for the enterprises we work with and some of the more sophisticated experts, Hourly Nerd didn't communicate our value across several levels. One, the projects have never been priced hourly from the beginning. That was just a misnomer. The projects are on a completion basis. And if you meet the people on our platform, while they are smart, they are relatively put together and charismatic. And so Nerd never really made a lot of sense with the group that we're working with today. And we think Catalant, which is a combination of catalyst for brilliant and talent, really speaks better to what we're doing, which is that we are a change agent within your company, and the people we have are amazing. And we saw the fundraise and where we were going in 2016 as a good one-time moment to really reset where we were positioned in the market.
Well, Rob Biederman, we appreciate you joining us, and sounds like you're really making a very positive impact in talent, the connection between talent and business, both in the small business market as well as in, as you said, the Fortune 1000 companies. Absolutely fascinating. So, Rob, if people want to learn more about the company and the work that you do, how can people find you guys online?
We are at GoCatalant.com. That's go, CATALANT.com.
Fantastic. Rob Biederman, Catalant, we appreciate you guys coming on the show. We'll be sure to follow your progress and check back in with you in future weeks on Get Down to Business. Coming up after the break, we've got more talent, resources, advice, and information for all you small business owners who are listening to the show all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship. You're listening to Get Down to Business. You could always download podcasts from my website, ShalomKlein.com. And in fact, you get a sneak peek of who's going to be on next week. Once again on the show, all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship. Chicago, don't touch that dial.